Ever get the feeling there's a whole world out there in a single word? That's what we're diving into today, the Metei language.
It really is.
And trust me, it's got more twists and turns than your average vocabulary lesson.
Yeah, it's amazing how a language can be so deeply intertwined with a people's identity. Metei is a perfect example. It's not just about communication, it's about cultural survival.
Right, and we see that right off the bat with the name itself. We've got Manipuri, which is official, but then so many native speakers prefer Metei. Why does that even matter?
Well, it's about reclaiming their narrative, you know.
Okay.
Manipuri points to the place on the map, the state. But Metei, that goes straight to the heart of the people, their distinct identity. It's like this global ways we're seeing, where communities are saying we're not just defined by where we're from, but who we are.
So it's about choosing a name that reflects not just location, but legacy. Okay, that's powerful. But to really grasp that legacy, we need to rewind, right? Like way back.
Way, way back. We're talking a language with a 2,000-year history. 2,000 years of stories whispered, sung, written down. Imagine the echoes in those words.
Okay, now I'm hooked. Echoes, you say? Give me a taste. What kind of whispers from the past still reach us today?
Picture this, an ancient ritual song called Ugri.
Okay.
We're talking so old it might predate the Common Era, used in coronations, religious ceremonies. It's like a direct line to their spiritual core.
A song that's practically a time traveler. Anything else survived the century?
Oh, we've got these copper plate inscriptions for the 6th century, Yumban Lal they call them. And get this, they're not just dry records. They talk about family, relationships, even get into sexuality. It's like a snapshot of daily life from over 1,500 years ago.
Okay, that's way juicier than your average history book. From songs to scandalous inscriptions, it's clear Metei's been documenting life for a long time.
And that documentation takes center stage when we look at the Manipur Kingdom. Metei's with their court language laws, decrees, even epic poems, all written down.
Talk about a language that's seen it all. From ancient rituals to royal gossip, it must have some stories to tell.
And boy, does it. One epic poem we came across, the Kambathobi Shearing, is a love story for the ages, told in, get this, 39,000 verses.
39,000. Okay, that's not just an epic, that's a whole library dedicated to romance. This Metei language sounds like it's full of hidden depths. What else is tucked away in its structure?
Well, for starters, it's tonal.
Tonal. Okay, my linguistics knowledge needs a bit of a boost here. What does that even mean for someone who just hears words, not tones?
Think of it like music.
Okay.
The same note, played higher or lower, has a different feel. In Metei, the tone you use can change the entire meaning of a word. It's like the language has a melody built right in.
Whoa, that's incredible. It's like each word is doing double duty, carrying meaning in both its sound and its tone.
And to make it even more interesting, there's a bit of a linguistic debate going on. Does Metei have 2 tones or 3? It's a puzzle researchers are still piecing together.
I love a good linguistic mystery. What other clues do they have to work with?
The way Metei forms verbs is fascinating.
Okay.
Instead of single words, they combine root verbs with suffixes to create these nuanced meanings. It's like building with linguistic Lego blocks.
So we've got tones adding layers of meaning, verbs that are like intricate puzzles. Metei sounds like a language that keeps you on your toes.
You've got it. It's anything but simple. But sadly, this beautiful, intricate language faced a real threat back in the 18th century.
Oh, what happened?
They replaced the Metei script, the one they'd used for centuries, with the Bengali script. Can you imagine the impact on their cultural identity?
It's like someone tried to erase their voice, their history, all with a stroke of a pen. Did the Metei people just accept that?
Thankfully, no, they did not just accept that.
Oh, good.
They fought back. This wasn't just about changing how they wrote. It was about protecting their very identity. It sparked a language revival movement that was truly inspiring.
Okay, I'm always here for a good comeback story. Tell me more. How do they bring Metei back from the brink?
Well, it was a grassroots effort, fueled by passionate individuals and organizations. The Manipuri Sahitya Parishad, the All Manipur Students Union, they were instrumental. They understood that language isn't just words on a page, it's the spirit of a culture, a history, a people. They spent over 40 years advocating for recognition and revitalization.
40 years. That's some serious dedication. It speaks volumes about the deep connection they have to their language.
It really does. And their hard work paid off. In 1992, they achieved a monumental victory. Metei was officially recognized as a scheduled language of India.
That's huge. What does that kind of recognition mean in a practical sense for everyday life?
Oh, it changed everything. From education to government, being a recognized language of India means Meitei is now used in schools, official documents, even national exams. Imagine seeing your language given that kind of prominence. It's legitimizing, it's empowering.
It creates space for the language to breathe, to flourish outside the history books and in people's daily lives.
Exactly. And the story doesn't end there. Just this year, in 2024, Meitei became an associate official language in Assam.
Wow.
Much like the movement for national recognition, this was about preserving the history, culture, and traditions of the Metei people living in Assam. It's amazing to see language bridging those geographical borders.
It's incredible how this language has not only survived, but thrived. It's a testament to the power of language as a symbol of resilience and cultural pride. So, what's the Meitei language landscape like today? Where can we see its presence most prominently?
Well, all educational institutions in Manipur now use Meitei as a language of instruction.
Okay.
And it's even offered as a subject up to the postgraduate level at prestigious universities across India.
That's fantastic. They're nurturing the next generation of Meitei speakers, making sure the language continues to grow. But it's not just in classrooms, right?
Absolutely not. You see Meitei everywhere. Media, literature, even government communications.
Yeah.
The Press Information Bureau, for instance, publishes in Meitei, making information accessible to a wider audience.
It's truly woven into the fabric of their society. Are there any specific celebrations or events that highlight the importance of Meitei?
You bet. Every year on August 20th, they celebrate Manipuri Language Day to commemorate its official recognition.
A whole day dedicated to celebrating their linguistic heritage. I love that.
And there's also Manipuri Poetry Day, a beautiful celebration of their literary tradition. During these celebrations, both in Manipur and in Meitei communities all over India, they use poetry to really highlight the power and beauty of the language.
It sounds like they've found so many ways to weave Meitei back into the tapestry of their culture. This deep dive has been incredible. We've journeyed through history, explored its unique features, and witnessed its remarkable revival. But what about someone hearing about Meitei for the very first time today? Why should they care? What makes this language so special in the grand scheme of things?
What's so compelling about Meitei is that it embodies the enduring power of language itself. It reminds us that language is more than just a communication tool. It's the vessel of a culture, a library of history, and a powerful tool for shaping identity.
It's a language with a story to tell, and that story's still being written. Speaking of stories, we've touched on its history and significance, but I'm curious about the nitty-gritty, the linguistic nuts and bolts. What surprised you about Meitei as you dug deeper?
One of the things that really struck me was the complexity of Meitei's sound system. And I'm not just talking about the tonal variations, but the consonant and vowel sounds that give the language such a distinct feel.
Okay, now I need to know more. Can you give me an example? Paint a picture with sounds.
Sure. Think about the central vowel sound in Meitei, often written as tone.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have a direct equivalent in English, which adds to the unique flavor. Then there's this fascinating thing called velar deletion, where certain sounds disappear under specific conditions.
It's like the language has its own secret handshake, these hidden rules that shape how it sounds. I love that.
It's fascinating. And if that weren't enough, Meitei shares a curious linguistic quirk with ancient languages like Greek and Sanskrit. It's called Grassman's Law.
Okay, now you're just showing off. What is Grassman's Law and what's it doing in Meitei?
Imagine two aspirated consonants in a word, like T and K.
Okay.
In Meitei, if they're too close together, the second one loses its aspiration, almost like it's catching its breath. It's a subtle pronunciation shift, but it impacts the rhythm of the language.
It's like a linguistic dance, the sounds constantly interacting and influencing each other.
It really is. And there's one more fascinating detail I came across in my research.
You're killing me with these cliffhangers. Lay it on me. What else did you find?
Besides the Meitei script and the Bengali script, there's actually a third writing system that was developed specifically for the Meitei language, the Nairoya Fulo script.
Whoa, a third script. Tell me more.
It was created in the late 19th century by a scholar named Leninghan Nairoya Fulo. He wanted to create a system that borrowed elements from Devanagari and Bengali scripts, while still being uniquely suited for Meitei.
Like a linguistic mashup tailored to fit all those nuances. So what happened to it? Did it catch on?
It was championed by Apakpa Marup, but unfortunately it never gained widespread adoption.
What a shame. It would have been fascinating to see how that alternative path might have shaped the Meitei language.
You're right. Even though it didn't take root, It speaks volumes about the creativity and dedication that people have shown towards celebrating and preserving this language. It's a living, evolving entity, constantly being shaped and reshaped by its speakers.
And speaking of shaping, we talked about education and official use, but what about the everyday impact of this linguistic revival? How is Mighty woven into the daily lives of the people? It's one thing for language to be in textbooks and official documents, but it's another thing entirely for it to be alive in homes and hearts. What about that side of Mighty?
You're absolutely right. That's where the real magic happens. In Manipur, you'll find Mighty is the language of the family, passed down from grandparents to parents to children. It's the language of everyday conversations and shared stories.
It's the language of bedtime stories, those silly jokes you share with your siblings, the comforting rhythm of your grandmother's voice as she tells you a story. Those are the threads that weave a language into the very fabric of your life.
Exactly. And it goes beyond the family unit, too. Mighty is deeply present in their cultural scene. Traditional music, dance, theater, Sai, they all often incorporate Mighty, making these art forms a living embodiment of the language.
It creates this incredible connection between the past and the present, experiencing those traditions and hearing the language in the way it was always meant to be heard.
It's a powerful reminder that language is a living heritage, constantly being renewed and reimagined with every generation.
This deep dive into the Mighty language has been quite a journey. We've uncovered ancient roots, linguistic intricacies, and a spirit of resilience that's truly inspiring.
We've seen how Mighty went from the royal court to facing suppression, and ultimately how the Mighty people fought tirelessly to revive and celebrate their linguistic heritage.
And that brings us to a crucial question for our listeners, especially given Mighty's complex journey. What does the future hold for this vibrant language in an increasingly globalized world?
It's that question, isn't it? As the world becomes increasingly interconnected, the challenge for any language, especially one as unique and historically rich as Mighty, is to find its place in this evolving landscape.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Embracing the opportunities of a globalized world while holding on to the unique elements that make Mighty so special.
Precisely. And that's where you, our listeners, come in. The future of a language rests in the hands of those who speak it, cherish it, and pass it on to future generations. Every conversation, every story told, every poem written in Mighty contributes to its continued vibrancy.
It's a collective effort, a shared responsibility to ensure that this language, with all its history and beauty, continues to thrive for centuries to come.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of the Mighty language, we invite you to continue exploring. Dive into the literature, lose yourself in the music, and maybe even try learning a few phrases yourself. You might be surprised at what you discover.
From ancient rituals to modern-day revivals, the Mighty language stands as a testament to the enduring power of language and cultural identity. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.